Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon podcast. Most people's first crypto experience is in trading. It's getting wrecked by a wallet UX from 2015. But Avalanche is flipping the script. With gasless transactions now live and a user experience built for the next billion users, one team is leading the charge to make wallets invisible but powerful. And at the center of it is a Web 2 veteran bringing Meta and Uber level scale to Web 3. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Akash Gupta, VP of Core Wallet at Ava Labs. Welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be here, Akko. Appreciate your time.
So my first question, for people that might not be familiar with blockchain as much, we do have those that we're trying to onboard in our own little way. The differentiation between Ava Labs and Avalanche. They might have heard of Avalanche, the blockchain, but what is it that Ava Labs does?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Avalanche is obviously the nonprofit permissionless blockchain on which a bunch of different applications are built. And Ava Labs is the company that provides services on top of Avalanche. So we are the for-profit company that sits on top of Avalanche and makes sure that every user is getting the access to the Avalanche blockchain, and we're being able to further the usage and democratization of this particular blockchain.
Okay, so basically, Ava Labs is where everyone works. When people say I work in blockchain, you do not actually work at Avalanche.
Correct. That's a good way to put it. It's like the for-profit company, and then obviously the Avalanche is the foundation, right? Like that's how most things are structured. Kind of similar to, if I give an example of Ethereum and Consensus.
Yeah. So coming out of university, where did we go? Where did we study?
University, that's some time ago. Well, university, I was actually working at a startup. I was the third employee there. I was a PM, the designer, as well as an engineer. It was a educational technology startup out of the MIT Media Lab in Cambridge. And that was for about 2 years. And then, that was fun. It was a roller coaster. And then I would say like my kind of journey spanned across two different, worlds. One was more so in the sort of more established large company world. I worked at Staples.com, built out their e-commerce platform, as well as helped them move from retail to e-commerce.
Mm-hmm.
I also worked at large companies like Meta and Uber in different capacities along the way, but mainly on the technology side, the product side. And then I also had a journey alongside the startup universe. So of course. Tried, my own company as well for a couple of years. That was super exciting. I was in the B2B space for CRMs. Right now, obviously working in a startup again. So kind of taking a full journey, full circle, and
You're a
found my way
sucker for
back.
punishment, sir. Are you a sucker for punishment? What's that all? No, I'm joking, man. Because startup life isn't easy. It's glamorous. People like to glamorize it, but there's a reason that people go grey and old very quickly in a startup. Before we get to Ava Labs, how did you get into Meta and then Uber? Because was it networking? Was it someone you knew that opened a door for you? How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I was obviously very into the tech universe, building
Mm-hmm.
and working, and some folks from my colleges also worked there. So I kind of reached out and learned more about the process of applying. And then I spoke with a few folks who were working there, and I asked them like, hey, would you be open to referring me? And a person referred me, and then at Meta. Once I was referred, obviously, they go through grueling rounds of interviews. These are large companies with a lot of structure, and that was obviously a very long and drawn out interviews, but went through that. Same thing with Uber. I think a lot of folks who jump around these larger mid firms where you're ex Uber, ex Meta, ex Google, ex
Uh-huh.
whatever. So these companies you kind of move around a little bit, and then you see where the opportunities also are, what problems you want to solve, what challenges are there, and then you kind of gravitate towards these companies as well.
I'm so glad you mentioned that and you brought it up because that's something I try to tell people. It's like instead of blind applying to 1,000 job applications that might or might not exist, rather spend your time focusing on networking and seeing where are my connections, who do I know and who knows me and what I can do, and then sort of take it from there. But okay, cool. So that's Web 2.
Yeah.
What made you decide to ditch all that and go into crypto? What was the red pill scenario? Was it a woman? Usually it's a woman. Um, what was that all about?
Yeah, great question. So I was actually very early in the whole crypto world, like early kind of person who bought Bitcoin in actually 2013, 2014, but did
Did
not
you hold
stick
on?
with my gut. Yeah, that's the
Ah,
problem. It's the
uh,
problem. I did not stick with my guns, and I,
neither did I,
had like a.
brother. Don't worry.
I know we would be in a very different state today.
This would
So
have been a very different conversation.
I know. But hey,
Yeah,
you
cool.
live and you learn, and
Absolutely.
I felt like I wasn't ready for that risk appetite at that time in my life, at least, and I obviously moved on to larger companies.
Mm-mm.
While at Uber and Meta, basically, I did get the experience to build and scale products that touch millions and even billions of people.
Yeah,
But I also saw the
massive.
limitations.
Okay,
I saw the
okay.
limitations of Web 2, right? No matter how successful you are, you're building inside walled gardens.
Mm,
And that was something that, I thought about a lot. And when I looked at Web 3, I saw a fundamentally different architecture, something that's open, that's programmable, that's composable. That's something that wasn't there in the Web 2 universe, and how, applications were built on top of the internet after the early 2000s.
mm,
So I essentially saw this fundamentally different architecture, and was kind of exciting to me as a product builder,
mm.
as someone who, not just because of making things slightly better, but just rethinking the rules entirely, right? And then Avalanche stood out because it wasn't just talking about scale and usability, but it was actually delivering it.
Mm.
Obviously, with the Avalanche proprietary consensus mechanism, that was something that I was drawn to, with their subnets architecture, now known as L1s, with near instant finality and settlement. It was clear that Avalanche was positioned to solve some of the most stubborn bottlenecks in crypto today. I felt like it was the right place to combine what I'd learned in Web 2 with sort of growing these products to millions and billions and taking it to
Mm-hmm.
Web 3 as well.
Damn, mate, you picked up some sales skills along the way as well because you just cut a massively exciting promo on Avalanche. It just made me like, yeah, let's go. Let's fucking go. Let's do it. What's the difference between scaling those companies in terms of product at Meta and Uber and the likes and in the Web3 space? Because I'm thinking there's a massive difference.
Yeah, I think the biggest shift, if I were to think about it, was understanding that you're not just building a product, you're actually helping shape an ecosystem.
Mm,
So what I mean by that is, in Web 2, you can essentially push updates every day, run A/B tests, and iterate behind the scenes. But in crypto, in Web 3, you're often working in open source code, decentralized governance, and an ecosystem of developers, validators, and users with their own agency, with their own say in a lot of
yeah.
matters. So, you have to think a little less like a product manager or like an engineer, but you got
Uh-huh.
to think more like what I call an ecosystem steward. It's kind of this dance between moving fast and being extremely deliberate, because
Mm.
you're laying down these primitives that thousands of other developers are working on. And yeah, I mean, honestly, it taught me to design not just for end users, but for communities, for builders, and for entire networks.
Okay, cool. So let's get into the product a bit. You talked about building there, and most people still see wallets as something foreign, maybe a little bit scary, clunky, intimidating. Sort of, how do you change that perception? Are you guys doing anything different in your experience?
Yeah, so to me, the wallet is no longer just a key management tool. It's become an entry point into an entire crypto digital economy.
Mm,
When we designed Core, we wanted to serve both as an onboarding platform as well as a control center. So
mm,
that means that it's not enough to just show your token balances. We need to help users understand what they can do with their
yeah,
assets, whether it's staking, participating in different governance structures, accessing the apps, or moving across chains, right? So for new users, it means demystifying crypto, offering guardrails, and creating a path of confidence and security. But for advanced users, it means providing deep functionality without clutter. So we think of the wallet as this connective tissue that helps users discover and engage with everything that Web3 has to offer.
I like
Now,
that.
obviously, we are Avalanche's native wallet, so obviously, we are focused on enhancing or being a wrapper on top of Avalanche's technology. So
Hmm.
making sure that it becomes so easy to use and access that people forget that it's actually done on Avalanche and it's just like a blockchain in the background. So gasless transactions actually are some things that we've done, and I'd love to talk about that if you like.
Yes. Yeah, no, I was about to ask you because that was for the longest time one of the biggest psychological barriers of wallets and crypto is like, what do you mean I have to pay to transact? Right? And actually, you pay your bank up to 3% to send money down the line. You don't even think about it that because you've been so brainwashed into thinking, well, that's the norm, right? And now you've taken away that barrier of say, okay, cool. There's no gas fees, which is equated to the traditional banking model of the you have the payment you have to do to send the money down the line.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the biggest sort of step that we've taken in this direction has been gasless transactions because
Mm.
they unlock a step change in user experience. And we're the first wallet or ecosystem to have ever done that at scale.
Yeah, at
Obviously, what
scale,
that
yeah.
means at scale is the more important thing
Mm.
because people do it one off and
Mm.
have a lot of ways where they capture some of the MEV or do things differently. But what we're essentially doing is essentially sponsoring gas on the Avalanche chain. So on one side, you have the chain that's becoming faster and cheaper every day, and then on top of that, you have the wallet that's enabling users to just not even think
Hmm.
about what gas means. Kind of like
Yes.
just come
Okay.
in and start using the wallet, using crypto, buying assets, trading assets inside the wallet. And traditionally, right, interacting on chain meant that you needed to understand tokens, gas estimation,
Uh-huh.
and fee markets, and just to do
Time
even
of
like a
day,
basic.
time of day, but peak times and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. So you need to understand surge and all these
Mm,
different concepts, but that was a huge cognitive barrier, right?
mm.
With gasless transactions, we're removing that invisible tax on mental effort, right? And this matters because this basically frees up mental bandwidth. It allows people to just feel a little safer. You get that Web 2-ish experience without
Ish,
having to understand
yeah.
the complexity of Web 3.
But don't you think a lot,
So
sorry,
obviously,
don't you think a lot of crypto at the moment is doing away with a lot of crypto?
I agree.
Like, like not talking about blockchain, not talking about gas fees, not talking about tokens. Okay, no, I'm not talking about tokens as much, but you get my my point is just
Right.
like let's talk about the technology more about the problems it's solving.
Correct. Well, it is a little bit of catch 22 in
Yeah.
that sense, and crypto is does have that problem. We have noticed that obviously, if you're in the space long enough or invested in the space long enough, you will notice that there's a little bit of a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah.
But that being said, obviously, trust is table stakes. And
Ah.
that's something that is really important. We're trying to build that new layer of trust within this ecosystem. That takes some time, especially
Mm-hmm.
with some of the bad actors that have transpired in the past.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes it is the dog, the tail wagging the dog, or
Yeah.
vice versa.
You said the chain keeps getting faster and cheaper. Why is that? Why would that be?
Well, so first and foremost, I take a lot of, pride behind the team that obviously is working on network upgrades because we have amazing protocol engineers and platform engineers who are ensuring that the chain itself is reliable, it's secure, and it's the cheapest chain out there. So, what does that mean, right? We
Mm,
are getting more decentralized. We are doing this in a way where we're being able to launch new upgrades every time. So we actually recently launched a new upgrade. It's called the Octane upgrade,
yeah.
where
What does that do?
the gas cost has been reduced substantially. In fact, we became one of the cheapest chains out there without compromising for speed and
Okay.
security.
Okay.
So obviously we have to talk more about this because it's such a big deal. Because at this point, it's a race to the bottom, and we almost won that race to the bottom. And what that essentially means is that, just moving assets from one blockchain to another, interoperating between one L1 and one L2 and one other, other chain is just getting simpler and simpler.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to make sure that we aren't paying for for that gas across on different chains that actually make sure that they
Mm.
charge you for those network fees. And that was enabled, of course, with a lot of different, work that was done on the distributed layer and the distributed systems level with different node operators and different, community proposals that were launched.
How long does it take to implement something like that? Like, let's say you want to push a major update like that. How long does it take?
Well, it really depends on the complexity of it. I think we
Yeah.
try to launch something every quarter. We try to operate like a startup, a large network upgrades are things that you need to test. You need to make sure they're robust. You need to make sure you're not like breaking things in the process because we're talking about millions and billions of transactions happening on chain
Okay.
with millions and billions of dollars at stake. So I think we try to keep it like quarterly without making sure that these things disrupt any existing flows.
Okay. Two-part question. How do you know if Core Wallet is winning? What's your benchmark? And then the second one being, where do you see the wallet space heading in sort of the next year or two?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question, and I think about this all the time. It's what
Mm,
actually keeps me up at night. So for core, success looks like sustaining growth in active users and new users,
okay.
but also a breadth of use cases. So are people just holding tokens or are they staking it? Are they bridging it? Are they swapping it? Are they doing stuff with it? That's very important. So that's what, is a good benchmark for success. Like, are they coming into the product and are they engaging with it?
Mm,
Um, in addition to that, are developers integrating with core? Are they integrating core into the apps, right? And on the
mm.
quantitative side, are we earning user trust? That's something that's really important, right? Are we being talked about in the community as like the trusted tool that people are recommending to their friends?
How do you
And long
measure
term,
that?
honestly,
Sorry, how do you monitor? Sorry, before you get
yeah,
on to it, how do you measure that? How do you measure trust? Is it, do you scrape the internet for chatter? What do you do?
yeah, there are a few different vectors. We obviously look at the number of malicious transactions that have transpired on the chain, and we try to mitigate that as much as possible.
Mm,
We try to look at the contracts that have associated with any sort of malicious address out there, or a bad actor or nefarious actor out there.
mm.
We have a bunch of different guardrails in place to make sure that any wallet address that has interacted with, let's say, something that has OFAC sanctions, or with like a North Korea address is immediately banned. There are a bunch of guardrails that we're actually implementing to make sure that these things
Yeah,
are allowed.
yeah,
So of course that's something that we have to ensure, and we measure that. So we measure the number of complaints as well, if at all that and when those happen. Of course, no one's perfect, and it's an early space, and we're improving.
yeah.
But we also look at social engagement. So X, Telegram, Discord. These are channels where people reach out. We have an active community,
Mm,
very vocal community as well. that I would say one of the best communities out there that talks about how to improve, and it keeps us on our toes to make sure that the product is good.
I was about to ask you if they tell you when you're fucking up.
Yeah, they do often.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's
It's
the good
healthy.
thing.
It needs to be. It's healthy.
It is.
Keeps everyone
Definitely.
honest, man. Okay, cool. Talk to me before I let you go. Talk to me long term. What do you think where the space is heading? I know you talked about being this passport into Web3 and just not, it's not only reflecting your balance and there's need to guide you into things like staking, but what do you envisage past that?
Yeah. So in 5 years, I
Mm,
believe the crypto experience will be ambient and embedded. Now, what do I mean by that?
mm,
You will interact with blockchains without thinking about blockchains. You'll own assets, credentials, reputation points that move from platform to platform effortlessly. You'll participate in economies, whether that's gaming, social, finance, 24/7, 365, not just, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 EST. I do see a world where you'll be able to do this without downloading a separate wallet or worrying about keys. This will all be
mm.
done behind the scenes. And I do think, lastly, like if we get it right, wallets will be invisible, but yet indispensable. So,
And
they'll
yeah,
quietly
and
enable trust.
yeah. And
Yeah,
maybe
they
even
quietly.
your AI agent moving around doing things for you.
Absolutely. So that I was about to get to that. So we actually, there's some stuff in the works on this, but your AI agent, your custom sort of assistant,
Fascinating.
your blockchain assistant person, so to speak,
Yeah.
will help you kind of, move assets between the digital and the physical world. And that's something that, it's kind of a little lofty, but I see a lot of that happening, and that will be the one that's trained. That's the one that you have access to, and I see that kind of learning your behaviors over time as well. Kind of like your assistant, right? Or your
Yeah.
co-pilot along the way. So that's going to be something that wallets will emerge with as well.
The one thing that strikes me was it's very in the 1980s, if you told me that we'd be doing this in this short amount of time, just this Zoom call, I would have said there's no way. And it feels to me like talking about agentic avatars moving around, doing stuff for you in the digital world is a far and lofty concept. Yet, to me, it makes sense because it's just the natural progression of technology. So, again, I'm very bullish on it for the same reason that I think we were bullish on the first iPhone, we were bullish on the internet, we were bullish on, just technology. It's to me, it's where I wasn't as bullish on the metaverse as such because I couldn't see the use case of us moving in that direction. This to me makes more sense, even though it sounds crazier, if that all makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, yes, I mean it does, right? We're seeing real world use cases. We're seeing people use it.
And there's money involved. That's why. It's
Of
money.
course,
Money
yes,
makes the world go
definitely.
round. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners want to go and connect with you and Ava Labs, where can they do that?
Well, they can connect with me on X. I'm easily findable on Akash Gupta there. And of course, I'm on LinkedIn as well with the same handle. Ava Labs is just at Avox. You can reach out there, or at Ava Labs on X as well. So, yep. Pleasure being here today. Really loved our conversation. Super
You
fun. Great
are
chatting with you. Thanks for
you
your time.
are a legend. We'll put all the links in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me. And to our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. And we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Not hard enough, steal it back. Not hard enough, run
problem, now you got one. You got a problem now, yeah. You got a problem now. You got a problem now. Oh.